Hello, I'm Steve Main with Fitness for 10 and Fitness for 5. Back here again with Dr. Nario of Biointegrative Health Clinic in Reno, Nevada. You can look them up online, Biointegrative Health Clinic. And today we're going to, and through our next few interviews, we're going to talk about diets, different popular diets, and who it might work best for, and so on. So today we're going to talk about the Mediterranean diet, which I know is a favorite of Dr. Nario. So welcome, Doctor. Glad to have you here again.
Hi, Steve. Thank you for the invite.
Okay, so Mediterranean diet, I know a little bit about it. It's about kind of an Italian diet around the Mediterranean Sea. So correct me if I'm wrong and give me a little bit of the history of the Mediterranean diet.
Well, Steve, you're right. I might be biased about this discussion, but again, I will try to stay neutral for everybody.
You're not Italian, just so you know.
As you can see, no Italian here. So, well, Mediterranean diet or Med diet, to keep it shorter, it's actually heard and started in Europe. And of course, European and Italian restaurants have been carrying this claim to fame about their food. And where did it come from? So it came from the culinary traditions of the Mediterranean region, as you mentioned, around the Mediterranean Sea, and in the environment mostly of in Greece and Italy. So this is what they're actually eating over there. And in these specific countries that I mentioned, back in the good old days, when people are still farming and are producing grapes and olives, and they turn this into wine and olive oil. So these are the major symbols of the Med diet. And as we all know, that they also have livestock there and animals. But the thing there is, it's mostly more on fish that they ate. But the reason that no beef or dairy are able to be this conducive to grow or harvest, and in relation to the climate that they have. And again, the grasses there are not good for grazing. That's why the beef is less in amount. And the land is not conducive for this. That's why they have more of fish, lamb, goats, and those are the staple meat that a typical Mediterranean diet has. And as you can see, they're living the life of a country scenario, a country type of scenario for everybody to imagine. And now we're talking about the modern Mediterranean diet. It was actually brought in by Dr. Keyes, who rediscovered the diet in relation to the cardiovascular benefits that it brings to the table. And now it is brought to the modern world to us, for us to enjoy.
So what's a composite? Can you get into more of the details of the composite of this specific way of eating?
Yeah, so let's dissect the whole table for you, Steve. So everybody would know what is the ingredients or what are the compositions of the Med diet. Well, the Med diet actually focuses on high intake of vegetables, fruits, bread, and other cereal grains, and potatoes, legumes, nuts, and seeds. Another focus of this diet is the unsaturated fatty acids, and this would be in the form of what we call extra virgin olive oil or even olive oil. And inclusive of that would be nuts. And they are the primary fats that are consumed in the Med diet. And this is typically 15 to at least 20% of the total calories of the specific diet. And animal intake, such as meat, poultry, fish, dairy, and eggs, are again underlining the term low to moderate. And wine, again, as part of the symbol of the Med diet, is only in moderation. So everybody has to rethink all these emphasis that I just brought out there, because sometimes that's where everybody kind of being misled in terms of the distribution. And the heart of the Mediterranean diet, as you can see, is mainly vegetarian, and it has much lower content of meat and dairy, And these two things are considered the major villains in a diet because of their saturated fat content.
Okay, so I know there's a lot of ways of eating out there, but what are the specific, in general, specific benefits of the Mediterranean diet?
Well, that's a good question, Stephen. That's why everybody's on board the bandwagon of on a Mediterranean diet. And you know, everybody, what's the fad? Everybody jumps towards it. The main part of the advantage of the Mediterranean diet is, of course, the clinical trials that were involved with the specific said diet and has now been out there for the medical community to apply on their patients. And this is the cardiovascular benefits of the Mediterranean diet. It's one of the better diets that have proven to lower cardiovascular risks, such as diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, and even lowering down the counts of heart attacks and strokes. And not only that, it also lowers the incidence of cancer and risk of death overall. And again, I want to emphasize that the Mediterranean diet, the Med diet, is considered near vegetarian, and it should be actually established that the health benefits of any type of vegetarian diet can be applied to this specific diet as well. So less heart disease, as I mentioned, less cancer, less death, and less inflammation in general throughout the body, and less inflammation in your blood vessels. That's why improving circulation, and as well improving brain function, which is also pretty good to observe when people has dementia or Alzheimer's.
Okay, so I know that every diet is not for everyone. I know this is a very popular one and highly recommended. I know it's your diet of choice, I think, for yourself. But are there any disadvantages? Again, I know it's not for everyone. Is there any disadvantages? Somebody who maybe shouldn't try this diet, or what's your input on that?
Yeah, well, diet is, as I mentioned again in other talks that I have, that no specific diet can fit every person. Every person has to have a personalized choice in relation to what they respond to better. That's why it could be med diet for me, it could be keto for you, it could be for the next guy, it could be paleo. So everybody needs to have that in mind, that you need to find where you're comfortable with. But the thing here is, med diet disadvantages are not spoken a lot because nobody speaks about it. Everything is all about the advantages. But unfortunately, no one right now. This is a fact. No one is currently eating the traditional Mediterranean diet, even in the Mediterranean. So even them lost their way and actually went on board with the Western type of diet. Or if they did, you have to remember I mentioned about the traditional Mediterranean diet. They have now converted it into the modern Mediterranean diet, which is actually our misguided concepts. That's why the diet is turning people into something else other than the benefits that I mentioned. So the prevalence in the Mediterranean actually had increased of in terms of heart attacks and strokes. And now Crete, which is actually one of the more prominent areas there that uses the med diet, is now having problems with their cardiovascular and also cardiac conditions. And the blame is on the increase of consumption of meat and cheese, and at the expense of lowering down the plant food content. Now, people think pizza or spaghetti with meat sauce are healthy, while Italian restaurants brag about the healthy modern Mediterranean diet. And specific points about this modern Mediterranean diet would be grains. So most grains in the modern version are refined, and the example would be white bread. The traditional one actually uses unprocessed cereals or whole grains. Whole grains, as we all know, lowers the risk of diabetes, heart attacks, and even cancer. And another, so as you can see, refined grains, if you eat them, is the opposite of that, thus putting us more at risk. And another a symbol of the med diet is wine. And as we all know, as I want to put out there, alcohol is a problem. And an example for you would be a known breast cancer risk, even with moderate amounts of intake. That's why It's not, we hear about the vasodilation effect, the cardiovascular benefits of wine, but there is really more risk than benefit if you are a wine, I guess, drinker. And the thing here is grapes has phytonutrients, and in red wine, it improves blood vessel function. The thing here is, studies have shown that if you remove the alcohol from wine and thus turns into just plain red wine, it significantly boosts the ability of the arteries to relax and dilate normally, thus increasing blood flow. And the thing here is, drinking the same red wine without the alcohol actually is a better approach. And with alcohol, you add it in there, it abolishes the beneficial effects of everything. And also, uh, I wanted to make note that now it's better to just eat grapes and cheaper too. So that's why the concept of the Mediterranean diet has to be, I guess, dismantled again. And lastly, we always hear about extra virgin olive oil. We always hear about it's very good for the body. Why? Because of the antioxidant phytonutrients that it has. It also helps the blood vessels function better, and it also improves circulation. The question now here is, white bread dipped in olive oil has always been the symbol of the Mediterranean diet. But now, should we question that? Maybe we should.
Yeah, very interesting. I've done some research on the Mediterranean diet, and it's really how things were prepared and grown and so on many years ago. And people in that region, it was natural, and of course, it's going to give them natural benefits. So, and olive oil is a big part of it. And olive oil, I know, it has huge health benefits. It's high in monounsaturated fat, which is high in omega-3, which is what we want. So my last question is, what's the difference between regular olive oil and extra virgin olive oil? Does it really matter?
It does, Steve, it does. The thing here is people think, tomato, tomato, same thing, right? It's really not. Olive oil actually has been proven to actually produce impairment in the blood vessels. This is also comparable to the damage that can be brought in by other high fatty meals. Studies after olive oil consumption had shown the blood vessel damage that I'm talking about. And this is also seen in other oils that you can imagine in your head to use for cooking and drinking. And the thing here is, after the intake of these specific oils, actually you give your body 3 hours after that meal, then you will see the damage that it can do. May it be fresh oil or deep fried oil, they're all the same. The thing here is, olive oil is still better than omega-6s or saturated fats, but most studies have shown that the adverse effects of regular refined olive oil is not comparable to, now we go to extra virgin olive oil. That's why I want to emphasize it has to be extra virgin olive oil. Why? Because extra virgin actually retains the fraction of the anti-inflammatory phytonutrients found in the olive fruit. Thus, it will not induce that spike of inflammation caused by regular olive oil. Thus, the saving grace of the modern Mediterranean diet, despite the flaws mentioned, you have to remember that they still have the rich whole grains, the fruits, the vegetables, and walnuts, and even the famous balsamic vinegar or vinaigrette. All contributes to the antioxidation that all these all combine, and the protection of direct impairment of our blood vessels that is produced by the disadvantages that I just mentioned a while ago in relation to the alcohol, the carbohydrates through the bread. And again, now you're just balancing everything and had lowered the capacity of the Mediterranean diet to be the maximum effect for a healthy, a better you. That's why you have to remember, everybody has to go back to the traditional and not the modern.
Hmm. Great information, Doc. Looking forward to the next diet. So that's Dr. Nario talking about the Mediterranean diet, Biointegrative Health Center in Reno, Nevada. Thanks for being with us, Doctor.
Thanks, Steve. Have a good one.